Hi guys, this is your girl Wakeji Kamore and welcome to Reflections by Wakeji Kamore. Today we are going to be looking at a short introduction to the book of Nehemiah. Again, so that we don't jump into the book. Na hatuelewi what is happening. So I like to do an introduction of every book just so that we're on the same page, just so that we know what's what. So the book of Nehemiah, of course, is a book that follows the book of Ezra. As a matter of fact, in the scrolls, I like to say, in the scrolls, the book of Ezra and the book of Nehemiah were one book. They were only separated in the 3rd century. So unafaa kujua ilikuwa kitabu moja, alafu ikaseparatiwa, ikakuwa Ezra and then ikakuwa Nehemiah. The book of Nehemiah is, people are not quite sure who wrote the book, but when you look at the first person, where it starts to be written in first person, then you can tell that it is Nehemiah who was writing the book. So there was some, at the beginning where you're not sure, when we are being introduced to Nehemiah, who Nehemiah was, you're not sure who's writing that part, but when he starts to write it the first person, just like what happened in the book of Ezra, now we know that it is Nehemiah who is writing the book. So what is the book about? Or rather, when is the book happening? Rather, let's start by when. Where are we? Where is the book happening? So the book of Nehemiah opens up in the Persian city of Susa. Nehemiah came, he was a layman. He wasn't a priest, he wasn't a prophet like Malachi. He served at the Persian kingdom, and he served as a cupbearer for the Persian king. So of course that is where the book starts, by us being introduced to who Nehemiah is, where he is at that point, and what is happening at that time. At that time, the temple of Jerusalem had been rebuilt, but the walls of Jerusalem were in rumbles. They were just in ruins. There was just a temple, a kukwa na wall. There was no wall to fortify the city, to fortify anything. There was just nothing. And so one of the things that we see happening a lot in the book of Nehemiah, it provides, of course, an account of Nehemiah. He was the leader of the Jews who had returned to Jerusalem. So we see the third return of the people who had exiled from Babylon to Jerusalem. We see a third group coming back with this leader now, who is Nehemiah. And under his direction, the walls of Jericho were rebuilt. But Nehemiah seems to not be satisfied by simply building the physical structures. He wanted the people to be edified spiritually as well. So he was there to build the physical structures, but he was also there to rebuild the spiritual structures of the people. He wanted people to be edified spiritually as well. He wanted people to take control of their lives, of their land, of their destiny as the people of God. Remember, these were people who had just come from being slaves and were in bondage and captivity. So wakona ile, unajua, I don't know how to explain it. They probably have an inferior complex of feeling like, gosh, as we are just slaves, we are just, ile tu kuoderera. In Kikuyu we call it that. Kuoderera, ile tu yume. Unajua, you look beaten, you look just, down and stressed, and you look like someone who has no yeah, I'm sorry. I'm speaking a lot of Kikuyu today because sometimes I just don't know how to explain this. Sometimes you can just look so beaten. So Nehemiah was just like, no, you people need to realize that you are the people of God, and you need to take control of your lives, of your land, and of your destiny, and remember that you are the children of God, that you're a chosen generation. As in, he just wanted people to just remember their identity and to just know who they were. He also exemplified many righteous qualities. He was humble, he was self-motivated, he was confident in the will of God and willing to take the lead, full of faith, fearless. He was an organizer, he was obedient, he was just. By just studying the book of Nehemiah, we will see an example of a righteous leadership and learn the values of building ourselves spiritually. So those are just some of the things that we're going to be looking at, and it's exciting. I can't wait to just read about this book. This is a book about someone who just started, or someone who was serving in a layman as a cupbearer, to someone who was leading a whole people as they were rebuilding the temple, to someone who almost became an activist. And we will just see all these things happening in the book of Nehemiah. I really cannot wait for us to go through this book. I'm not going to say much more about this book because it is better to ingia kwa kitabu and we learn some of these things when we are in the book. So I'm excited for us to start the book of Nehemiah. There are so many lessons from the book of Nehemiah, lessons about leadership, lessons about how important it is for us to figure out our identity in Christ, just lessons about us taking first steps of faith, us being organized as leaders, as just a lot of lessons in the book of Nehemiah. And I am excited for us to start the book. So see you tomorrow.